So a couple of things that I want you to pay attention to on this video. Notice how he's weaving in and out of the snow. Notice how people are passing him on the left-hand side. Notice how there's ample space between them. They're leaning into that powdery stone with their snow with the body. They have GoPro cameras up on their helmets. They're riding with a partner or two. They're aware of their surroundings all out. They're out in the fresh outdoors. And you want to make sure that at the end, something like that does not happen to you where your sled is in danger. My first question to you is, who here can think of a sport out there that allows you to be away from the stress of life while enjoying the freedom of the crisp outdoors? Benny?
Hiking.
Hiking. Jaden? Football. Peter? What is it? Mountain biking. So all of you are kind of able to piggyback off of my idea and concept of how to snowmobile and what the joy of snowmobiling looks like. This sport for me is competitive. It is thriving. It allows me to experience the crisp freedom of the fresh air that's felt while riding a snowmobile safely and also cautiously. My speech today is on how to snowmobile safely. First thing that I want to talk to you about. You may notice up front that I have snowmobile gear. I also am wearing my first layer of snowmobile gear. You want to make sure that your snowmobile gear is waterproof. It's also windproof. It is wind resistant because you want to make sure when you are riding at fast speeds that your skin and body is warm and is protected from frostbite and hypothermia. You want to make sure that you are extra layered, so you might have an extra skin layer on, I like to call it, and then your bibs, your winter jacket, a winter hat, a couple of extra layers to keep you warm. Because one thing about layers, you can always take them off if you are getting too hot. Sometimes you're also snowmobiling in conditions that are minus 24 below zero. The next key concept that I want to talk to you about is going to be the 4 major positions, the riding positions in snowmobiling. The first position up top is called the seated position. So if this were my snowmobile, I would get up and I would get on and I would be in the seated position. My hand would be on the brake, my hand would be on the throttle. The seated position, the feet are placed inside the footwells and the feet are located in the front of the running boards. For me, this is the most comfortable position and also the warmest position. The next position you're able to see is the kneeling position. This is a little bit more of a fun position while riding on a snowmobile. The kneeling position allows you to lean. So when we saw it in that first video, that's what a lot of those guys were doing, leaning within the powder. It also allows you to shift your weight when traveling uphill. The kneeling position is usually the position that you would be in to get yourself out of very deep snow if you're stuck. The next position is the standing position. I like to use this particular position, especially if I'm hot. So I'll unzip my coat, I'll unzip my bibs to allow the cool air to kind of bring my temperature down. The standing position also allows my spine and my back to relax as I'm standing. It also provides me the best observed view in front of me. Last position while riding a snowmobile is called the posting position. Posting position will be used on rough trails. So what it is you'll sit down, you'll have your hand on the brake, the hand on the throttle, and you'll actually be up a little bit so that your sled is not injuring and damaging your spine as you're going over really rough trails. Lights. Lights are an ideal key for communication. There's a lot of night riding that goes on. There's a lot of blizzard conditions that also happen, and your lights are your key form of communication. So your brake light can be used to signal danger. So I would hit my brake 3 or 4 times to communicate to the 12 sleds behind me that there's open water, that there might be debris in the trail. It's communicating to the people behind me that I need to slow down and be cautious of something. The front light is ideal, especially if you're ice riding or trail riding in the middle of the night. You can see that front headlight from miles away to know that somebody is in the way or is about to come towards you. Last thing I want to speak to you about is going to be appropriate trail etiquette and also key safety that you need to be aware of when you're riding a snowmobile on the trails. There are many different signals that you need to be aware of when you're trail riding. Ideally, sometimes a little bit on ice as well, you need to use these signals. So you have to remember that there are riders behind you sometimes, and there's no blinkers on a snowmobile. So to communicate which direction you're going in, if there's a danger, if they need to slow down of some sort, you need to be, as the passenger behind this leader, you need to be able to understand the key signals that are being communicated to you. So there's the left turn, there's the right turn, there's the slowing down, there's the oncoming sleds, stopping, sleds following, and sled being last in line. If I was somebody that was way back here, my first guy would be communicating that there's 4 or 5 sleds in front of him. So if I'm an oncoming sledder, he's going to see 4, and then 3, and then 2, and then 1. And that's communicating to a person that is about to pass me that I can speed up after I pass that last person. Key things that you need to watch out for while riding. Groomers. They come out of nowhere and they are very slow and can be deadly and dangerous. Ice shanties, especially in the middle of the night on open ice, you need to be completely aware of them. You need to be aware of your directions and where you're going so that you're safe and able to get to a warm location. There's a lot of wildlife, moose, deer that will jump right out in front of you and right out into your trail. Open water is a key danger too that you need to be aware of. All of these things, gear, signals, riding with appropriate lights, all are to help you get home safely and to prevent an accident from happening. So my concluding statement for my demonstration speech today, you need to remember that safety is always first. You want to make sure that you are coming home alive and that you are coming home uninjured. Remember that every single person has an important job to do while riding a snowmobile. Always wear the appropriate gear so that you do not have hypothermia or frostbite. And lastly, remember this, snowmobiling is a sport. It needs practice over time, needs to be mastered for precision.